All right, hello, welcome back, everybody. It is me, Marquise G, and we are back for another episode of G's Gems, where we're talking everything career, reality, and motivation, and of course, dropping some gems along the way. We are back in the Melly showroom with my guy Tyrus. Speak to the people. Hey. We are here for another episode, and of course, this is November, my birthday month, so we're talking about a couple of lessons that I have learned in the past year as I get ready to celebrate my 26th birthday this year. That's never gonna sound right coming out of my mouth, but it is what it is. So this episode, the lesson we're talking about is respect and loving yourself. Woo! This is a big one. Okay. So this year, I have had to learn a lot. And before I even get into respect and loving yourself, I really feel like the main focus of it has honestly been boundary setting. And I think from trying to, I'm still not the best at it, I'm still working on it, but trying to implement stronger boundaries with people has really led me to understanding what respecting and loving myself looks like. And why I had to set stronger boundaries is because I mentioned it briefly in the last episode, but I'm generally the person, everyone calls on, or, I'm the center of the group in some way. I'm the peacemaker. I'm the resolution maker, always, figuring out conclusions or how to fix things, how to work it out. So I get called on a lot, and I get pulled in a lot of different directions. And because I have such a caring heart and I'm nurturing and I just want people to win and succeed and feel loved and all these different things, I'm quick to just jump and help people out and kind of put myself on the back burner a lot of the times. And I think I mentioned this in one of the first couple of episodes that the last 2 years going into the new year, I was very sick. And I think it was just because I was so burnt out of just thinking and stressing and just being all over for people and all these different things, that when it got to this year, I was like, man, I cannot keep going through that. And as hard as it is, I was just like, I have to be able to say no, honestly. And it's easier said than done, especially depending on what type of person you are. But for me, it was one of the hardest things, because the one feeling that I hate the most is feeling like I disappointed somebody. And I know that a lot of people say that, when you're a kid, the hardest thing to hear from your parents is like, I'm not upset with you, I'm just disappointed. I feel that way about everybody. And so feeling like in any type of way I might have let someone down or disappointed them or anything like that, I couldn't even stand not even actually feeling it. I couldn't stand the thought of feeling it before it even happened. And so after a while, I had to just start asking myself, why do you feel that way? Like, it hasn't even happened yet. Again, going back to the mindset and how things work in your mind, and a lot of the things that we feel start in our mind before we even get a chance to experience the situation. And we never know. It might not even go that poorly like we think it is. But I had to start asking myself, why do you feel like you're going to disappoint someone or let them down? And even a better question is, why do you feel like it's your responsibility, solely your responsibility, to ensure this person is not disappointed? And especially now in my life, we're grown adults. Everyone in my life is a grown adult, and some are even older than me. So it should not be my responsibility to be accountable for someone else's emotions, actions, or anything like that. So once I started asking myself those questions, and again, that rationalization thing that I do in my mind, I had to realize that it's really me, because people treat you based off of, one, how you treat yourself, but how you teach people to treat you. It's kind of like, I tell people in business, like, you have to teach your customers how to treat you. It's kind of like you can't expect, what's a good way I can compare this? You can't expect, like a Prime 47 experience at a McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So those are two different experiences, customer bases, all these different things. But because of how they put themselves out there, both of those places kind of teach you and show you who their customer base is, or who they'll accept, or how you can behave, etc. So in the same way, you have to teach people how to treat you. And based on what you allow is how people will continue to treat you. So if you continue to allow people to push you over, or run all over you, or run you ragged, or anything like that, they're going to continue to do that until you tell them this is not happening anymore. This ends here. This has to stop. So I had to do a lot of that this year. I'm still doing it. And there's a lot of times that I backtrack and backslide and all these different things. But for the most part, me even just trying and telling myself that I have to put more boundaries with people has forced me to stick to it a little bit more than I usually do. Setting boundaries leading into respect. Once I started setting boundaries and seeing how people respond to it, and not necessarily saying that anyone responded negatively towards it, but seeing people's response towards my boundaries showed me how much people respect me. And seeing how much people respect me showed me how much I need to respect myself, and how much more I need to respect myself. Because I consider myself a person of high value. I consider myself a person worth being respected. And to give respect, you have to receive respect. And I give people a lot of respect for who they are. I really probably don't even deal with you if I don't respect you. So if I'm dealing with a lot of people who I respect, I will hope and pray that those people respect me in the same way. And on the other end of that too is that a lot of the times we don't necessarily view ourselves in the same way that other people view us. So seeing the amount of people and the different types of people that actually do respect me, and I'm not just saying that because, they act a certain way towards me so I feel like they respect me. No, people that are literally coming to me and saying, I respect you, out of their own mouths, started to make me feel like, man, I need to put a little bit more respect on my own name, these things. So putting boundaries on people, seeing their response, seeing some people fall away from those boundaries, and seeing people that came in from those boundaries led into seeing how much respect I was being given, or I wasn't being given, or how much I had to give to myself. Now respecting myself leading into loving myself. That is probably one of the hardest things that I've had to do. And not saying that I didn't love myself or I don't love myself. I definitely love myself, for sure, 110%. How I love myself is what I really had to work on and focus on. And what I mean by that is, they say your internal reflects your external. And I believe that in life, you will incur certain circumstances or certain things that might not be favorable or go in your way or anything like that. Sometimes it can just be a fluke. Sometimes it could just be a one-off learning lesson. However, when things start repeatedly happening over and over and over again, you have to then quit pointing the fingers at other people and look at yourself. Because obviously there's something going on with you that keeps allowing this situation to happen. Whether it's how you treat yourself, whether it's a lesson that you haven't learned or something like that. And it particularly started to resonate with me when it came to relationships, not like friendship relationships, like kind of romantic relationships or whatever. And I started to notice that this same pattern of thing keeps happening, leading me into these like situationships, honestly. And after a while, I'm a person, if you know me, you know that I'm very much a relationship person. I am a hopeless romantic, really, really bad. And I started to notice that, man, it's been like 5 years since 2002. So yeah, like 5.5 years since I've been in like an actual relationship, like boyfriend, girlfriend relationship. And I was just like, what is going on? I think I talked a little bit in the last episode about like this life I had envisioned in my mind was not happening the way that not happening the way that I envisioned it happening. And so one of those things in the life that I envisioned was my relationship and like the partner I would have, etc. And I'm saying this is a lesson that I've learned this year, but this thought actually started back in like 2020. But this year it really hit me of like, these situations, this same type of situation has been happening over and over and over again for years. Not like just the past couple of years or since the pandemic started, for years, like over a decade. So what is it about you now? Like now this is a you problem that you really need to focus on. And when I really sat back and thought about it, I was like, man, I don't think I love myself in the proper way. And that was really hard for me to admit out loud to myself because again, and for all intents and purposes, I think that I love myself. Like I don't talk negatively about myself. I don't look at myself in the mirror and beat myself up about anything or, you know, I wake up every day pretty much glad to be in the skin that I'm in. So for all intents and purposes, I didn't feel like I did not love myself. But then I realized, what does love actually mean? What does love mean to me? And I started to hear a lot of these like talks or like posts on Instagram and stuff about not just desiring a certain type of partner, but making sure that you are, you know, the person that you're looking for, essentially. Like you can't show up wanting somebody to be a certain thing and then you're the complete opposite. And a conversation that I have a lot of the times with my friends is that at this point in my life, you know, we're halfway through our 20s, you know, approaching our 30s, depending on the type of person that you are. Your significant other might be closer to their 30s or in their 30s already. So at this point in life, you shouldn't be looking for someone to complete you. You should be looking for someone to complement you. And so when I thought about that, I really had to look at myself and be like, man, like not saying I'm a bad person or anything like that, but there's definitely still some things we need to work on. And one of those things being how I love myself. And I couldn't really expect someone to love me in a certain way if I didn't even know how I wanted to be loved. Now, of course, I know certain things like my love language is or certain things that I like to do. But fundamentally, what does it really mean to love Marquise? What does that really mean? What does that really look like? I'm not going to say that I have the answer 100%, but a couple of things that I drew from that was one, that the boundaries. I have to have boundaries. One, for myself, but two, eventually when I do have a significant other, the way I'm being pulled and dragged and all these different things, it's not going to be acceptable, you know, because I have to have time, energy, and space for my significant other as well. Two, support. Not even respect. I think respect is a byproduct of love. So hopefully if the love is there, the respect is there, but support in all areas of my life. You know, in terms of my career, in terms of my lifestyle changes, because child, that happens too often. It happens too often. Like some days I might want to be vegan. Some days I might want to be keto. Some days I might want to be in the gym every day. Some days I might want to be a couch potato. I don't know. Be supportive either way, whatever happens. But in that support, also be encouraging, because it takes a lot to get up every day and do some of the things that I do. Even getting up to come here and record these videos, it takes a lot. Okay, me and Tyrus are tired. Okay, we got a lot going on, and you know it can seem as an extracurricular thing, but this is a part of what I'm building and what I'm trying to do. So giving me that encouragement to help me realize my dreams and keeping that at the forefront of my mind and remembering, you know, why I'm working towards what I'm working towards, not even just in my career, but with my family, with my friendships, all these different things, be encouraging. And then another thing is just being forever willing to push yourself and and feeling like you will never not have something to offer the world. Those are the biggest things for me. And giving as much love to other people as you give yourself. And again, that has boundaries on it, because you can't, love other people more than you love yourself. But at the end of the day, we're all placed in this world to give more than we receive. And even now, I have to question a lot of the times, like, even in me overexerting myself for people sometimes, am I still being selfish in a way? So even thinking about that. So when it comes to respect and loving myself, I think that might be an even bigger lesson than doing it alone, honestly. Because doing it alone, I mean, you can kind of, figure that out and it'll change at given points in time. But I think respect and love, like, that is the prime pillar of almost everything in your life. And especially if you are a person like me who desires a true, genuine love and, relationship and family and all these different things, it becomes a very big center of how you communicate, how you think about things, what you talk about. And I remember two of my friends, shout out to Ryan and Van, they have a podcast called Intentionally Social. And no, that's not their podcast. Is their podcast Intentionally Social? Unapologetically Mindful. Intentionally Social is Van's business. That's what it is. Unapologetically Mindful is their podcast. And I was listening to one of their episodes about non-negotiables. That's what it was, non-negotiables. And up until that point, and this was in the middle of this year, so very, very recent, I had never heard of non-negotiables in a relationship before. And that really made me think about a lot of things, because I think a lot of times people say like, oh, I would never accept this, I would never accept that. But I think it's like bigger things we think about, like cheating or not doing certain activities together or not letting my in-laws move in or something like that. But when they were talking about non-negotiables, it was things like, if me being in the gym is important, not saying it has to be equally as important to you, like you might not be a gym rat, but health in general has to be important as well. Certain things like understanding my boundaries and the time that I might need to myself, that's a non-negotiable. So I really had to start thinking about how I would move forward, in terms of what my spouse might be, who my spouse might be, or what that relationship might look like in terms of these non-negotiables. But it also made me stop to think more about, like, how do I carry myself in my day-to-day life? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And I always say that, if you desire to get to a certain place, you need to start moving in that manner in the best way that you can right now. And so I think that's dictated a lot of, how I change a lot of my behaviors and patterns and, again, how I communicate with people, what I will tolerate, what I won't tolerate, etc. And just building a regimen for myself, you know what I'm saying? To build myself up to be, the best significant other I can be as well. So I highly encourage you, if there's, I'm not the best with technology and stuff, but between me and Tyrus, we'll figure it out. But I would definitely do my best to link that episode, because I think that was a really big game changer for me. Because like I said, my last relationship was 5.5 years ago. I don't even think I was 21 yet when that relationship ended. So I'm about to be 26. Yikes. A lot is going to be different now in a relationship than when I was barely 21. Even, oh Lord, I really be telling y'all all my business. Yikes. Anyways, it's fine. We're vulnerable and being honest. It happens. But the last guy I talked to, it was a lot of eye-opening things, even dealing with that situation. Like, we were we were different in a lot of ways, like a lot of ways. But one of the things he even opened my eyes to was just how I viewed relationships in general and just, you know, how I maneuvered and operated. I think I was such a cater to you type of person that I never really thought about, you know, how I expressed myself or how I asked for things that I needed. And to the point where I was in such a rush to kind of like be in a relationship with him. And he was just like, yo, like, we've only known each other for like 6 months. But in my whole experience of like when I was dating was like, you like me, I like you, boom, we go together, you know? And I remember having that conversation and just having this light bulb moment of like, no, you gotta really take some time to get to know a person before you start putting labels and things of that nature. And one thing my mom says to me all the time is you really need to vet your significant other and their family, because if this is who you choose to, you know, do life with, you take in all of that, you know what I'm saying? And now that I'm older, seeing certain things in my family, I look at it and I'm like, child, I wouldn't want to marry into this. Like, this is a lot. So I think having those experiences of just realizing that, you know, as we get older and as adults, there are certain things that you need to look for. There are certain things that, and I don't mean just, you know, the typical red flag type things. Like, there are certain things that you need to look for to see if does this, you know, embody the vision I have for my significant other or my family in general, or how I see my life moving. And it can be very challenging because a lot of the times you might get what I like to call a person's representative. Someone might be trying super hard to get to you and you know, show you that they're worthy or whatever the case may be. That they'll do all the bells and whistles and things to, you know, woo you and swoon you and all these type of things. And then as soon as you say yes and move forward and things start getting comfortable, they become a totally different person. And I would say more than anything, that's one of the biggest things that terrifies me. Oh my God, I'm so scared of that. Because there's so many horror stories you could talk about. I won't say horror stories, life lessons that you hear from people. And people have been married for 20, 30, 40 years, and just out of the blue, just whatever weird thing happens. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is who I was with for all this time. I would like to say that I feel like now in the age and era that we're in, I feel like we do a lot better with talking about, you know, communication, how we communicate, going to therapy, things of that nature. So I would hope in some way, shape, or form that we could change that narrative a little bit, but there's always one that slips through the crack. And I don't want to be that one. That's just, I can't deal with it because I'm one screw away from crazy and I just can't do it. I cannot do it. But I think and hope that, again, the love that I have for myself, and as I continue to build what that looks like, that I will be able to channel that into what the love that I desire will be, if that makes sense. So, respect and love. If you don't have it, journaling has been really big, because journaling taught me a lot about what I see on the outside, how that reflects on the inside. So I highly encourage you to journal, read some books, listen to some podcasts, to really dig deep on what self-love and all that stuff looks like. But yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things I learned. Want to add, Tyrus? Okay, he loves it. I love it. Well, that's it. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you feel about this episode. What's your love journey, your self-love journey, your respect journey been like? Again, shout out to Melly for allowing us to take up space and record here. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.